Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about why Ravnica and Theros are official Dungeons & Dragons canon, because they're official Dungeons & Dragons setting books with the D&D hardback, according to Jeremy Crawford, but why, as the D&D community, we hard reject both of these, and why they really aren't Dungeons & Dragons at all. So the reason I'm talking about this right now is boy, oh boy, have I been incredibly blessed by this Magic the Gathering Adventures in Forgotten Realms. What it's told me is that I can go back through my collection of Magic the Gathering cards, which I have probably 5,000 to 10,000 cards, and I can just pull out everything that's usable in my for Dungeons & Dragons and start really keying my non-player characters, my equipment, my land, my locations, my events off of Magic the Gathering cards. This is an incredible joy for me because, I started playing Magic the Gathering in 1993 when it came out. I started in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I played by myself for a little while. Then my wife played for a few years. And then my oldest son, I played with he's working age now, and he lives down in Maryland. And but I played with him for about 10 years. And then I played with my oldest daughter. My youngest daughter has dabbled in it a little bit, but I play in Friday Night Magic with my youngest son now. So this is a big family thing. And I'm incredibly blessed to have this really nice collection that has spanned literally the entirety of the game, right? And now and these things sat up in a, now I have sold, let me be clear, I've actually sold off Magic the Gathering cards twice, right? So I've had two big sell-offs before, and so all this was commons and uncommons, and then get this, rares that got lost. I have probably 100 or 200 rares I found, right? And so it's just such a joy because I'm oh, this is going to go great in my D&D game. And then it's oh, this is a $50 card. So it's been, this is really, just put a fire under my butt to go back and just go upstairs, bring down all the all the binders. Actually, I have so many, we don't even keep them in binders anymore. We keep them in plastic tubs, right? And so it's been really, I've been incredibly blessed. I'm really, really happy with the whole thing, right? And so, but one of the things is, as I'm going through, I'm literally going through thousands of cards, and I'm saying, and with every card, I'm saying, this is D&D, this is not D&D, right? And I can tell you right now, the entire set of Ravnica is not D&D, right? Jeremy Crawford says it's canon, I say it's crap, right? It's steampunk, it's D&D plus steampunk. Guess what? I don't want any goggles or gears in my Dungeons & Dragons, right? And so the reality is, and I do know there are goggles, the thing is, I don't mind, goggles of dark side or whatever, the magic item it is. And I know gnomes have introduced, items into the game for a long time, but the reality is Ravnica is just 2005 steampunk, and it's junk. It doesn't, as much as they tried to shoehorn it in, it doesn't fit. And it's just not Dungeons & Dragons. Steampunk isn't Dungeons & Dragons. Let's talk about Theros. This is a little more complex, right? So, one, Theros is essentially, I want to say Greek myth, but that gets complicated. All right, so let me explain something. In America, we only really know two myths in the world. I don't know how these two countries got their myths to stick where other countries didn't, but what we do know, right, is we know Greek myth and we know Roman myth. The problem is they mix together, and we can never remember which is which, right? So basically, Greek myth is incredibly problematic. All right. So one, the gods suck, and the same thing in Roman. All of them are half of them are on a Me Too list, right? Zeus is coming down and making babies with human women and cheating on his god wife, and it's bad. It's just not cool anymore. It's definitely in a Cuomo situation, right? It's not good. Right, so one, Theros has got a lot of that attached to it, right? And so that's problematic. And then the other issue is, here's the thing: I think the Greek myth and the Roman myth would be we could stand it if if J.R.R. Tolkien just hadn't curb stomped it, right? Like, that's the issue. So you're like, okay, fantasy. What's fantasy? Well, it's some weird, in American mind, it's some weird myth, some weird mix of Greek and Roman. We can never remember which. There's a whole bunch of Me Too issues mixed up in all this, and it's not great, right? Like, it's just Greek and Roman myths just kind of suck. Modern, right? Tolkien rolls up in the 50s, right? And he's like, myth is British. Human, dwarf, elf. And guess what? The story that goes along with it is so good, people will be talking about it for 100 years, right? At least, right? And we're all like, oh yeah, this kicks the crap out of Greek and Roman myth, right? So the reality is Tolkien just came along and absolutely just destroyed Greek and Roman myth. It was like, this is better. And it was. It was, he threw down a gauntlet and far surpassed Homer and whoever else wrote all, Homer, I can't name any other people who wrote Greek myth, right? And so, basically, Tolkien over Homer, done, right? And so the reality is, and then basically, they do have a real milieu. So Theros looks like Theros. It looks like a bunch of gods, coming down from Greek and Roman myth, and it just doesn't feel Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't feel Dungeons and Dragons in any way. Now, I'm not harsh, for Wizards of the Coast putting these into the game, and the reason why is I do know we would not have Magic the Gathering Adventures in Forgotten Realms, which I think is the greatest accomplishment that Wizards of the Coast has ever done. Yeah, like beyond 5th edition, after 5th edition. I think 5th edition is number one, and Magic the Gathering Adventures in Forgotten Realms, because I really think it's going to change the way the game's played for 20 years. I really do. Maybe a lot longer than that. And so that's, in my opinion, why Ravnica and Theros are not canon. And I'm part of the D&D community, and you're part of the D&D community. And you know what? Wizards of the Coast owns Dungeons & Dragons official content, but they do not own canon, period. Right? We decide canon. That's what I say. Let me know what you think. Do you think Ravnica and Theros are D&D? Do you use them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.